guys, this video is going to cover off some meeting rhythm strategies and communication strategies when working with your offshore team. Some of our best clients have absolutely nailed this strategy and they're experiencing some amazing results because of their communication strategies and their meeting rhythms. We will take you through these awesome tricks and tips and also talk about meeting rhythms that are essential to getting the best from your offshore team. It's equally as important to put your onshore team through these rhythms and strategies as well so that you're getting great communication across both teams. So stand by for some awesome tips and tricks coming from us. Poor communication can really be one of the biggest reasons for failure when it comes to really not talking to your offshore team members, A, often enough, or B, in the right way. So what we've found is that clients who don't communicate effectively are really finding that they're not getting the best out of their offshore team member. We're also finding that the ones that do have a great experience, they're scaling, they're growing their team, and they're developing their team members as well. So some of the things that we find is having very structured meeting rhythms. And that might be first thing in the morning, checking in with your team member and having what we call a daily huddle. We certainly use this across our entire business, and with all of our offshore team members, we have a daily huddle every morning at 8:45 in the morning to get the day going, to get the positive outcomes from our team, and to also drive expectations from our side. If you're not setting up those communication rhythms, you really are setting your team up to fail. So we implore you to really get it right and to talk to your team, ask them to reiterate the question or confirm that they understand by verbalizing it back to you, and you're going to have great success. So why poor communication can be the biggest reason for failure is because we see it as a really negative effect on your team member when you're not communicating clearly with them. Expectations can be confused, messages could be mixed, and we tend to find that our staff aren't really responsive when it comes to not being communicated with. It can create high stress levels, it can create confusion for them. So the impact to your workflow can actually be quite great. So we really emphasize communication as being a key point so that you don't experience these kinds of failures. So the best approach to good internal communication is really twofold. I'll talk a little bit about internal communication first though. We find that specific meeting rhythms are essential to communicating clearly with your team. You're able to then set the outcomes for the day and reiterate the messaging to your team directly. If you're not using Skype, GoToMeeting or Zoom, you're really out of the game. So it needs to be via an online platform where your team can see you and you can have a direct conversation with them and have them reiterate the message back to you so you know you're understanding. I would also do morning huddles, if not weekly huddles, and then maybe have a wrap up at the end of the week so that you can tie up all those loose ends that may not have been captured in those morning huddles and make sure that the workflow is on track. The second part of this is really what you're doing to engage your offshore team in terms of going over and visiting them, being in their workspace over in the Philippines, or sending out your point of contact who manages the team to actually go out and visit them, and really humanizing that element of your offshore team by making them a big part of your onshore business. It's really critical, guys, and if you get it right, you'll see amazing results. So the communication in the change to the team needs to be an incredibly positive one. As more companies are working with a global workforce, it should really come as no surprise as you decide to go into the offshoring journey. We think that the explosion of offshoring is because we're getting the right people in the right jobs, on the right tasks, and that's really freeing up your onshore business and your onshore teams to really get into the specifics of their role and, most importantly, growing the business. So it's a positive, engaging, growth conversation that everyone should be embracing and be happy to have. So how we would recommend you communicate the change to your clients is to be completely open and honest with them about your offshoring strategy. And particularly as more firms are working with a global workforce, we see this as a really positive change and one that a lot of companies are now embracing. We'll talk about the engagement letter piece later in the video series, but really it's about having that clear conversation, having an open conversation, and having everyone embrace the global workforce and being transparent about it with your clients, and whether that be advertising it through your website or integrating your team members in the Philippines onto your website, which a lot of our clients do and have an enormously positive response by doing so. So the importance of having a consistent business rhythm is really all about workflow and efficiencies. What we're finding is that with a consistent business rhythm, you're actually finding more people are getting the right task done at the right time. And it's not just about having meetings for meeting's sake, it's making sure that the workflow is being managed appropriately and the right outcomes are coming from those rhythms. So really keeping in touch with the offshore team as well as the onshore team to get the best productivity for both of those teams combined. So we find the best business rhythm to be created, and this is one that we used here at the Outsourced Accountant, is your weekly, your daily, your monthly, and the one-on-one. Throw in the quarterly strategic meeting in there as well, but those 4 key meetings we think are essential in creating the right business flow. Each meeting has its own agenda and specific outcomes, and you would want to keep your daily huddles pretty short and sharp. We at the moment use what your highlight was from yesterday, what your focus is on today, and where you're stuck. We find that it creates amazing efficiencies across our team. Communication's clear, outcomes are being clearly put forward to the rest of the team, and everyone just gets on with the workflow. Really key meetings, 4 ones that we think you should be implementing across the business. Top tip for communication, I think, is a couple of things. Really delving in deep with what's going to motivate and really drive your offshore team. You heavily invest in your Australian counterparts, so why wouldn't you be doing the same with your Filipino team? We find some of the best examples of this is when a company is investing in their team to come over, whether it be to Australia or anywhere else, but bring them over, get them trained here, get them ingrained in your culture and your business, and make them feel like they're part of a bigger community. That's going to be your number one positive outcome. Once they've had the training, you're going to find the efficiencies are huge when they're back in the Philippines. They'll feel comfortable, they'll feel familiar, and that communication will really flow through on a day-to-day basis, and they'll have clear outcomes on what your expectations are. Ongoing training is key, and sending someone over there at least twice a year we find will yield you the best results.